The biggest financial lie ever told isn't that money is hard to earn. It's that working harder will make you rich. Think about it. Millions of people wake up early, work overtime, sacrifice their weekends, and still spend their lives worrying about money. Meanwhile, someone else works fewer hours, takes different financial decisions, and builds wealth that keeps growing even while they sleep. So what do they know that most people never discover? The answer has almost nothing to do with intelligence, luck, or even income. It begins with a hidden shift inside your mind, a shift that changes the way you see money, opportunities, risk, and even yourself. In this journey, you'll uncover why most people unknowingly stay trapped in a cycle of earning and spending, how invisible beliefs silently control every financial decision you make, and what separates people who chase money from those who make money work for them. But here's the interesting part. Each lesson unlocks a deeper truth, and the final chapter reveals the one psychological shift that ties everything together. Miss that final lesson, and the entire picture stays incomplete. As we move forward, you may recognize habits you've repeated for years without ever questioning them, and once you see them, it's almost impossible to look at money the same way again. If even one idea changes the way you think today, let me know in the comments, because your insight might help someone else break free too. And if you're ready to challenge old beliefs, master a completely different way of thinking about wealth, and discover ideas that most people never hear until it's too late, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's working hard but still wondering why financial freedom feels so far away. Because what you're about to learn could completely change the direction of your future. Chapter 1. Why your hard work keeps you stuck while others build wealth. Imagine two people waking up at exactly the same time. Both work hard, both are disciplined, both want financial freedom. 20 years later, one is still waiting for the next paycheck, while the other owns assets that keep producing income every single day. The question isn't who worked harder. The real question is, what did one person see that the other completely missed? Most people grow up believing that the safest path is simple. Study hard, get a good job, work harder than everyone else, and eventually everything will fall into place. It sounds logical because that's what we've been told since childhood. But here's the hidden problem. This mindset teaches you how to earn money, not how to build wealth. There's a huge psychological difference between those two ideas. When your mind is trained to think like an employee, every financial decision revolves around security. You trade your time for money. You wait for raises. You hope your employer recognizes your effort. And without realizing it, your income becomes tied to the number of hours you can work. Now picture this. Every morning you wake up and restart the same cycle. More work, more bills, more responsibilities. The finish line always seems just a little farther away. It feels like progress because you're busy, but being busy isn't always the same as moving forward. Here's something surprising. Many people who earn six-figure salaries still live under financial pressure. Why? Because a bigger paycheck doesn't automatically create freedom. It often creates bigger lifestyles, bigger payments, and bigger financial obligations. Think about someone who buys a luxury car the moment they receive a promotion. For a few weeks it feels like success, but now they have higher monthly payments, more insurance costs, and greater pressure to keep earning. Instead of owning the car begins owning their future decisions. This is where psychology quietly takes over. The human brain naturally seeks comfort and certainty. That's why most people keep repeating familiar financial habits, even when those habits aren't producing the life they truly want. The mind confuses routine with safety, even if that routine leads nowhere. The people who eventually build wealth don't simply work harder. They start asking different questions. Instead of asking, how can I earn more money? They ask, how can I own something that earns money for me? That single shift changes every decision they make from that moment forward. The moment your income no longer depends entirely on your daily effort, your relationship with money begins to change. You stop seeing every dollar as something you must chase. Instead, you start seeing money as something that can be directed, invested, and multiplied with intention. But this realization creates another challenge. Even when people understand this idea, Most never act on it because something invisible keeps pulling them back toward old habits. That invisible force isn't a lack of knowledge, it's something much deeper, something quietly shaping every financial choice before they're even aware of it. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next. Chapter 2. The Invisible Money Beliefs That Control Every Financial Decision You Make. Have you ever wondered why two people can earn the same income, read the same financial books, and have access to the same opportunities, yet end up with completely different lives? The answer isn't found in their bank accounts. It begins much deeper, in the beliefs they carry about money. The most powerful financial decisions are rarely logical. They're emotional. Long before you earn your first paycheck, your mind is already collecting messages about money. Maybe you heard that wealthy people are greedy. Maybe you were told that money is always hard to earn, or that financial success is only for the lucky. At first, these sound like harmless opinions, but over time they become invisible rules that quietly shape every decision you make. Imagine someone who finally gets a raise after years of hard work. Instead of investing part of it or creating another source of income, they immediately upgrade their lifestyle. A bigger apartment, a newer car, expensive vacations. On the surface, it looks like success. But underneath, an old belief is still in control. The idea that money exists to be spent the moment it arrives. Now picture someone else with the exact same raise. They still enjoy life, but they ask a different question before spending a single dollar. Will this purchase make me richer next year, or will it make me more dependent on my next paycheck? That one question changes everything. Here's the interesting part. Your brain is designed to protect what feels familiar, even when familiar isn't helping you grow. That's why people often resist opportunities that could improve their future. Starting a business feels risky. Investing feels uncertain. Learning new financial skills feels uncomfortable. So the mind chooses what it already knows, even if that choice keeps producing the same results. Think about it. If you've spent years believing that security comes only from a paycheck, then every opportunity outside that comfort zone will feel dangerous. Not because it actually is, but because your mind has been trained to see it that way. This is why changing your financial life isn't just about learning new strategies. It's about replacing old mental patterns with better ones. The moment you become aware of the beliefs driving your choices, you stop reacting automatically. You begin making decisions with intention instead of fear. Real wealth doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins the moment you question the stories you've been telling yourself about money. But awareness alone isn't enough. You can recognize every limiting belief you have and still remain financially stuck if your actions never change. At some point, your mindset must become behavior, and that happens when you stop treating money like something you work for and start treating it like something that can work for you. That single shift opens the door to an entirely different way of building wealth, and that's exactly where we're headed next. Chapter 3. How to Make Money Become Your Employee. Instead of your master. What if the biggest difference between financial stress and financial freedom came down to one simple question? Every time money enters your life, do you send it away, or do you give it a job? Most people never ask that question. The moment they receive a paycheck, the money already has a destination. Rent, bills, groceries, car payments, credit cards, entertainment. By the end of the month, almost everything is gone. Then the cycle starts all over again. They go back to work not because they want to, but because their money disappeared before it had the chance to grow. Now imagine a completely different approach. Instead of asking, what can I buy with this money, ask, how can this money help me earn even more money? That small shift changes the role of every dollar you own. Instead of being a visitor that comes and goes, your money becomes a worker that keeps producing value long after you've earned it. Think of a business owner who buys a machine that allows the company to produce twice as many products every day. The machine costs money today, but it creates even more money tomorrow. That's exactly how wealthy people begin to think. They don't see every dollar as something to spend. They see it as a tool that can create future income. The same principle applies on a personal level. Learning a valuable skill, investing in productive assets, building a business, creating digital products, or owning investments that generate cash flow are all ways of putting your money to work. At first, the results may seem small, but something powerful happens over time. Imagine planting a single seed. For weeks, nothing seems to change. You water it. You wait. It almost feels like nothing is happening. Then one day, a small sprout appears. Months later, that tiny seed becomes a tree capable of producing fruit year after year. Wealth works in much the same way. The early stages feel slow, which is why most people give up before they ever experience the rewards of patience. Here's where psychology becomes important again. Your brain naturally craves immediate rewards. Buying something new feels exciting today. Investing for the future often feels boring because the payoff isn't instant. But the people who create lasting wealth train themselves to value long-term freedom more than short-term excitement. They understand that every dollar spent on temporary pleasure is a dollar that can no longer work on their behalf. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy your money. It means every financial decision should have a purpose. Some dollars are meant to improve your life today. Others should be sent out to build a better tomorrow. The more workers you create, the less you'll have to depend on your own time and energy. But even after someone learns how to make money work for them, one final obstacle remains. Many people know exactly what to do, yet they still hesitate, procrastinate, or return to old habits. The problem is no longer knowledge or strategy, it's identity. Until you see yourself as the kind of person who creates wealth, lasting financial freedom will always feel just out of reach. And that final transformation is the most powerful lesson of all. Chapter 4. The identity shift that turns financial freedom into your new reality. Imagine waking up tomorrow with $10 million in your bank account. It sounds like every financial problem would disappear overnight. But here's a surprising question. If your thinking stayed exactly the same, how long would that money actually last? History has shown that many lottery winners, professional athletes, and entertainers have earned fortunes only to lose almost everything a few years later. It wasn't because they lacked money. It was because they never changed the person making the decisions. This reveals one of the most powerful truths about wealth. Your financial life will rarely rise above your financial identity. Most people think, once I have more money, I'll become confident, I'll become disciplined, I'll think like a wealthy person. But reality works in the opposite direction. You first become the person who consistently makes better financial decisions, and then wealth begins to follow. Think about someone training for a marathon. They don't wake up one morning and suddenly run 26 miles. They slowly become the kind of person who trains every day, makes healthier choices, and stays committed even when motivation disappears. The race is simply the result of that new identity. Money works the same way. When you begin seeing yourself as someone who creates value instead of only earning income, your choices naturally change. You become more patient with investments. You become more curious about opportunities. You stop chasing quick rewards and start building long-term systems. Saving no longer feels like a sacrifice. Learning new skills no longer feels optional. Every decision begins to align with the future you're creating. Here's the interesting part. The outside world often changes long after your identity has already changed. There may be weeks or even months when your bank account doesn't seem dramatically different. That's the moment when most people quit. They assume nothing is working, but successful people understand something most others don't. Your habits are planting seeds that haven't fully grown yet. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every smart financial decision, and every unnecessary expense you avoid is quietly shaping a future that you can't fully see today. The visible results always arrive after the invisible transformation. This is why consistency beats intensity. You don't need one perfect investment or one lucky opportunity. You need hundreds of small decisions that reflect the person you're becoming. Over time, those decisions create momentum, and once momentum takes over, wealth no longer feels like something you're chasing. It becomes a natural outcome of how you think and live. Take a moment and look back at everything we've uncovered. First, you discovered why working harder alone rarely creates freedom. Then you exposed the hidden beliefs silently controlling your financial decisions. After that, you learned how to make money become a productive worker. instead of something that constantly disappears. And now you've reached the foundation beneath it all, your identity. Because the greatest investment you will ever make isn't in a stock, a business, or a piece of real estate. It's in becoming the kind of person who knows how to create, grow, and protect wealth for a lifetime. The moment that identity becomes part of who you are, money stops controlling your future, and your future finally starts working for you.